So a lot of folks, when they get their Scout, fits most people pretty darn well, but you can modify it. So I wanted to show you guys a few things that can be done to modify the Scout and make it fit even better. So one thing we're going to do today, I'm going to modify this to fit my hand just a little bit better. So we're going to go around to the back of the slingshot here, and we're going to contour this area a little bit more so I get a much tighter grip with this finger here. That way that these two fingers and this finger here do most of the holding. So what we're going to do here is just shape this down a little bit. And we're going to do that with just simple shop tools. So take a look at the tools we're going to use here. We're just going to use files, rasps, and sandpaper. So I'm going to start out with just a rat tail file. So put it in the vise here and do a little shaping. Alright, so one thing that you can't shape is you can't shape actual rubber. So we can only work with the nylon part. But it shapes really nicely. So we can see here we've started to bring this up a little bit more, and my fingers able to wrap a little bit more smoothly around there. So we're going to come in and do the same thing to this side. Okay, we've got fairly symmetrical. We're not worried about symmetry here. We're worried about it fitting your particular hand. So I'm going to see how that feels. So that feels much better. I'm able to get much more of a purchase through here and wrap this knuckle a little bit more. So that's starting to feel really good. I'm not going to take that too much further. Another thing I'm going to do, and a lot of folks who have hitchhiker thumb, which I don't, a lot of folks' thumb will bend farther back. And this area right here can be a little bit uncomfortable. Also for folks who are aging or just don't have a lot of meat on their thumb, that can be a little bit pointy. So let's soften this up right here. For this, I'm going to go to a slightly smaller file. Actually, I'm going to switch over to something flat here. Alright, so we can see here we've taken off this ridge here that was present over on this side, and it's provided a much flatter surface for the thumb. Now let's suppose you're a pinch grip shooter and you prefer to shoot like this. What we can do is really soften up these edges here all the way around to the back so you have a nice consistent grip there for your thumb and your forefinger. Let's go ahead and modify that. We can see that that's really got that nice and smooth. We've taken off any of that steep bevel there and just smoothed that around, which gives it a really nice purchase for a pinch grip, also enhances the thumb support. We're going to do the same thing over here. Alright, so now we've got really nice smooth radius here. No more of the steep edge. That feels really good in the pinch grip. I might actually take that a little bit further back from my thumb, being a right hand holder. The forefinger area feels really good there. We've shaped this down a bit. We've developed a really nice custom fit there. So the key here is just take your time, shape it to fit your hand. But next, let's step down and get it back to looking smooth again. So what we can do here is, going from the rat tail file, we're going to step down to some chainsaw files here. Feeling nice. Next thing we're going to do, we've got this back pedal just about as smooth as it was from the factory. We can take that a little bit further. So I'm going to grab a piece of 80 grit emery cloth. Alright, so now we brought it back into a nice shape. Really softened those edges here. Feels really nice. And again, you're building this to fit you better. So if it doesn't feel right in a particular place, come back and take off more material. But this feels pretty doggone good for me and the way I like to shoot. So I'm going to go ahead and clean it up, and I'm going to step down to some 220 emery cloth. Got that nice and smooth. Alright, so it's back to being as smooth as it was fresh from the mold from the factory. We've modified it. You can see we've cut some nice symmetry. Got a little bit more room for our fingers and hands. This is great if you've got smaller than average hands, or for ladies. You can really bring this down. You could actually come down more with this if you prefer. Then, alright, so I'm just going to clean this with a little acetone. We can see, you can just barely tell that we've modified it. Of course, we could take a little bit more time with the sanding and bring in any of those scratch marks out and blend everything together. And then finally, you can flame polish. And you can hardly tell that you've modified it. So the scalp ever adaptable slingshot, make it your own.